So what we're going to do is we're going to use a router, and we're going to route out this section through here. And they had a smaller carve coming through on this side because of the pick guard. The other thing we're going to do eventually is change the shape of the pick guard. So you can actually see I've just roughly sketched out here the shape the new pick guard will take as opposed to the one that comes in the kit. So the pick guard will be a lot smaller. We're also going to alter this section through here. These actually come up quite a lot on the sides. The original Mosrites, this contour was a bit more shallow, so we'll do that. And then on the back, you can see on here that the way this is done, it's quite long and it's quite square. The original Mosrites were more rounded, and they had a neck plate that was sort of a shape of a figure eight, that sort of shape. So we'll probably make one ourselves to put in there. We might have to fill these holes, I'm not sure as yet, and we'll see how we go. But the first thing we're going to do is we'll start doing the German Carve. Now with a router, normally what I would do is run a piece of scrap material through just so we can see how it actually routes out. Now this was 2 passes. I wouldn't go and put a very deep pass on a piece of timber straight off. This is actually really hard timber as well. So this is Victorian ash, whereas we're going to be going on to basswood, which is a lot lighter. But even still, just to check out what the carve is actually like, and happy with that at this stage. So we'll grab the body and we'll pop the body through, and then we'll go from there. Now normally I would use a guard on this, obviously. For the sake of the video today, we're using it without a guard. But always be very, very careful with the router, especially around a table. If it catches on a piece of timber, especially if you're looking at end grain, it'll either throw your hand into the router if you don't have a guard on it, or it'll throw the piece of timber across the room. So always be exceptionally careful with a router. But we'll grab the body and we'll run it through and we'll have a look, see what it looks like. So as you can see, this is our first run through. We can go a little bit deeper. The pick guard is going to come to here, so we'll go a little bit deeper on our second run. So we'll just pop this up a little bit more. We'll do our second run, and then we'll come back through and have a look. Now you can always take timber off, very hard to put timber back on. Now that's about as far as we want to take this. With the router we'll do the rest of this and even this out a little bit more by hand. But as you can tell, the router makes a pretty quick job of taking timber out fairly quickly. Gets that nice point up on here on the lower bout. So we'll continue with this and we'll go all the way around the outside here. Then I'll come back and show you what it looks like. Alright, so this is about as much as I want to take off here with the router. It gives us a guideline to work by, how deep we want to go on the side here. So now we'll just take some files and we'll come back and we'll just smooth this out a little bit through here and around to this area through here. We're going to leave this pretty much as it is, maybe take the sharp edge out a little bit here, but then we'll just smooth this transition through here and these transitions up in the top bout. And that'll be the carve done. So you can do it all by hand, just we've got the router here so it makes it a whole lot easier. you'll see you do get a little bit of tear out. Although I must admit, using basswood is really easy on a router. It's a very soft timber, so it routs exceptionally well. It's a new router bit. And yeah, as I said, we'll just come back through here and we'll tidy all this up. And we'll have a body that looks a little different with a nice German carve. Just a little tip if you're looking at putting a line or a parallel line on a piece of timber, you can always use the old finger gauge. Basically the way that works is you hold your pencil and you pop it where you want it to be, and then you use your finger against either the side of the timber. I'm actually going to use it on this section through here. And then if you hold your pencil firmly, it'll give you a line. So we'll do this. Give you a line to work by. And that line should be fairly parallel to the edge. So if we come along here, this will just give me an indication of roughly where we want to go as far as the carve is concerned. I want a fairly deep carve on this. You can see as we come up through here, it's quite pointed. I'm not going to carve any more through this top section. Through here, I'm going to leave this as it is. I want these two sides to match either side, but I do want quite a point up on this particular side. So there's a fair bit of timber coming off around here, and then we'll transition it into this area. So where the pick guard is, we'll sort of come here, I'll move this here, we'll come this part through here, and then we'll transition this into this area. So this will come down a bit like that. So we'll just transition that area through. Now, these are all done by hand, so it's hard to get it completely perfect, but this will just give us an idea or an indication line of where we want to go to and from. Okay, we'll start carving. So we'll just show you where we are at this stage. Now this carve, I've actually done it with a sander instead of using a file. We've got it roughly to about where we want it, so it's almost to that line. So I'll go back through this now. Because this is quite soft, I'm actually just going to go back with some sandpaper by hand, and we'll just take these lines in and basically blend them all through. So it's not probably a traditional German carve, but it'll give the similar sort of appearance. It'll look quite good. So we've gone through and we've just transitioned a little bit through here. We'll come back through with a normal just hand sandpaper, and we'll do that. We've gone about as far as we can go with this German carve using the tools that I have. So basically now it's just doing it by hand. So what we've got here is just a little bit of paper on a rounded piece of dowel. And the reason I'm doing that is because I need to get it nice and flat all the way through. So if we just basically come through, because this is basswood, it's really soft and really quite easy to sand. And the best way to do it is actually use your fingers, because you can actually feel more than what you can see. I can feel like it needs a little bit more off down the bottom there. You can see how easy this is sanding. This is quite aggressive sandpaper. This is 80 grit sandpaper. And then we just need to round that area back again, which we'll do. Get it nice and even, nice and straight. And by coming back around, we're keeping it flat, so we're keeping a nice flat curve through here. So we're just going to continue on, go all the way around the guitar, and get it to the stage where we need it at. And we'll come back and we'll show you what it's like when it's all finished. So basically our German carve is now finished, just really needs some fine sanding. So I'd suggest if you are going to do something like this, a basswood body is probably the best one to start on, because it's so much easier to carve than say an ash body or mahogany or something like that. It's a lot harder. You can see the outline there of the curve, or the carve. We'll put up in here so you can have a bit of a look how it looks. So really, once it's all together, you'll notice that carve will look really good. So a little bit different to just the flat slab body. Puts a little bit of a contour in the body. Looks quite good. So you can also see that we've changed the shape up here where the neck goes in, and flip it around so you can see the back. So that's more of the sort of shape that we're looking at on the original, as opposed to that really square shape that we had before. Alright, so we're just going to fine sand this, and then we'll get some undercoat on. We need to plug these holes up as well, but we might just get a little bit of undercoat and just see where we're at the time being.